Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. Thank you for all the wonderful comments. Thank you for your incredible, energetic prayer and meditation work on Hurricane Milton. They're not saying it, but I think we're starting to have an effect collectively on that. That's wonderful, and we will keep you up to date as best as we can on these developments. Thank you for being with us in the live chat here. Ronnie is here, our wonderful moderator. Christine is here as Inspired, the Wise Thumbs in the live chat, and everybody else. So good to see you all. It's quite a important subject today, and I'll give everyone a fair trigger warning. This is going to trigger people. And frankly, I don't care, because this is about the truth, not about who gets triggered by what. We should get over that. The truth is incredibly more important than that. Christine and I are asked on a regular basis to join organizations, movements, and on a regular basis, we decline. We don't belong to any organization, not because some of them aren't good, and not because the causes aren't worthy. It's because we have seen time and time again that the biggest challenge that any organization faces, as good as the intentions might be, is infiltration. So that is opposition from within, or steered opposition from within. And infiltration is one of the methods used in psychological warfare, PSYOPs, right? Psychological warfare operation or psychological operations. People think of these operations as having a clear beginning and an end, as having happened in the past, or some of them may be ongoing in various sectors. We are living through a multifaceted, humongous PSYOP, psychological operation. And the operation is happening on so many levels that it is virtually impossible to find all the moving bits and pieces, but you can find signs of it absolutely everywhere. And ultimately, it's very simple to detect because of what it inspires or urges or scares people into doing or not doing, or how it wants them to behave. So we first have to understand, and this is so incredibly important, this concerns everyone, whether you are a religious person, openly spiritual, new age, whether you are political, you are a target, and you have been, okay? So I want to show you something. First, look at what a PSYOP actually is, so we actually understand what that really means. A PSYOP, which is short for psychological operation, is a strategy used by governments, military, or other organizations to influence and manipulate the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors of a target audience. The goal is to shape perceptions, spread propaganda, or mislead people to achieve political, military, or social objectives, often without the target realizing they're being manipulated. PSYOPs can include misinformation, propaganda, and other psychological tactics to control or influence public opinion or enemy forces. And I will tell you right now why we are talking about this, why this is so important. One of the communities that has been incredibly infiltrated and PSYOPed beyond belief, and that happened throughout the 20th century and beyond, is people who would consider themselves to be extremely free. Free thought, free experimentation, free consciousness. People that subscribe to the broader spiritual community or the New Age community. As a matter of fact, they're coming at us so often for what we talk about, and they're giving us phrases like these. I don't want to attract that energy into my life. Don't talk about these things. What you focus on, you create. I'm choosing to focus on love and light, not fear. That's a lower vibration, and I want to keep my vibration high. See, we talk about weather warfare, weather manipulation. We talk about Agenda 2030, smart cities, transhumanism, AI, the things that are unfolding without people realizing it. And these are so often the answers we're getting. Don't let fear-based thinking lower your frequency. You might heard, and maybe you've used one of them. I don't want to point fingers. I'm getting at something here, so please stick around. This is incredibly important. I choose to manifest positive outcomes, not dwell on the negative. Talking about this will only bring more of it into existence. I don't want to give my energy to these dark forces. The universe reflects back what you put out. I prefer to focus on solutions, not problems. These lines and more of them, we create our own reality, so I'm not giving power to this narrative. That's a fear-based mindset. The more you talk about it, the more you empower it. Everything happens for a reason. I'm trusting the process. I don't want that to let that negativity into my aura. I'm here to heal, not engage in fear or darkness. The world needs more love, not more fear-based thinking. We are the creators of our reality, so I'm not feeding into this narrative. There's a bunch more of these lines that we could go into. The bottom line is that in some of these, sort of stereotypical answers, there's of course truth. There's a greater truth in that. But it is a programmed reaction that has been carefully crafted through multiple PSYOPs in the last decades and infiltrations of this movement by putting in highly trained speakers and authors who are working for completely different teams. And what they're doing is basically creating a movement of great passivity, if you will, and of conformity, which is the strangest thing of all. So Christina and I have studied in the year 2020, 2021, especially since the Beetlejuice was released. We have studied who was the most compliant out of the communities that should not have been, based on their spiritual or based on their political knowledge or based on their conspiratorial knowledge. I will tell you who bought this story hook, line, and sinker. The New Age community, with notable exceptions, of course. Of course, there were people who saw right through it. Of course, there were people who were critical. But 95% of the community gave one of these lines and rolled up their sleeve. They wore the mask, they did the social distancing, they stayed at home, they got into lockdown, they complied with absolutely everything. How does that relate to spiritual freedom? So, how were these communities infiltrated? Well, here's a hint. They weren't just infiltrated. They were partially created for that very reason, to keep people who are spiritually curious, to people who want to explore consciousness, people who want to go into the true nature of reality and all those things, to keep them on a safe field, a playing ground where they can explore and play, but never beyond, you see? So then they are being pulled back in, oh, don't look there, this is dark, or don't look there, this is negative stuff, This might kill your vibe, this might lower your vibe, and you'll attract, your vibe attracts your tribe, and all these lines and these sort of cartoonish spiritual untruths. But what exactly happened? Let's look into it. So I have a few more lines, you can go through them later. But here's one operation, for example, Operation Chaos. From the 60s to the 70s, a CIA program to monitor and infiltrate the anti-Vietnam War movement, which had ties to various spiritual and New Age subcultures that promoted peace, consciousness expansion, and nonconformity to mainstream society. The CIA monitored spiritual groups, including those involved in the use of psychedelics for enlightenment, as they were seen as potential hotbeds of anti-establishment sentiment. Surveillance and infiltration were key methods, but not just that. They banned by law all psychedelic substances that would actually give expansion, true expansion of the mind, and which led people into the nature of this reality. A lot of people that took the psychedelics before they were banned reported of how they realized that this was a false reality, if you will, that this was sort of a programmed thing, and that was back in the 60s and 70s. So they moved into these movements and made sure that the only thing that remained were platitudes rather than real spiritual truths and depths, if you will. Operation Chaos contributed to the broader surveillance of spiritual movements, especially where they intersected with anti-war activism. The program was later exposed, leading to public outrage, which is incredibly interesting if you think about the progression of this. So, the spiritual community, if you will, was usually, I mean, in the past, it was very much connected more to the left-leaning political community. There was always an overlap, not everybody, but generally speaking, left-leaning classic liberal ideas. I'm not talking about the libtard ideas of today. Classic liberal ideas were very much, overlap with the New Age spiritual community in many ways, which were, of course, also anti-violence and anti-war. Now, today you go and watch where they're waving the Ukraine flag and what they're saying. Send more weapons, send more money. It's the left, today's left, with a big chunk of the New Age spiritual community that are doing the bidding for the military industrial complex. It's quite crazy. They've been chanting for years how we need to send more money and weapons to the Ukraine, not peace. Let's win this war is what they're chanting. That's not what the Vietnam protests were about. That's not what other anti-war protests were about. That's literally the opposite. This is how this infiltration has worked over time. Trust me, we're going to get so much deeper. MK Ultra, everybody has heard of it. Officially ended in 73. Unofficially, it never ended. It was just greatly expanded and more sophisticated. But MK Ultra was a CIA mind control program that sought to develop methods of controlling human behavior through psychedelic drugs, hypnosis, and other psychological techniques. While the primary goal was to develop mind control techniques for use against foreign enemies, blah, blah, it indirectly infiltrated spiritual movements through its interest in LSD and other substances used in spiritual practices. The CIA funded research in academic and private institutions, some of which overlap with the emerging New Age movement, particularly among groups exploring psychedelics and consciousness expansion. MK Ultra's reach into spiritual and New Age communities focused on substances and practices that these groups were exploring for enlightenment and self-transformation. So everywhere, these operations sought to infiltrate, get to know the lay of the land, and then put in ideas and put in practices and put in tools to move the needle in the wrong direction. That's always what this is about. This is how you can see it in people's reactions and behaviors. I can tell you when people say something to me like, oh, I don't want to focus on this. This is negative stuff. I know exactly how they've been programmed, because it is programming. Make no mistake. There is always a psy war going on, always a psyop going on. We haven't had a time in a long time where there wasn't one going on. Infiltration of the Esalen Institute, which was or is it Esalen? Esalen, I think Esalen. Always get this one mixed up. Which was a huge spiritual sort of hub for the New Age thought, focusing on human potential, consciousness expansion, and alternative spirituality. During the 60s and 70s, it attracted influential spiritual leaders, thinkers, and even political figures. CIA, FBI, and other intelligence agencies monitored Esalen due to its connections to the counterculture and its promotion of ideas that could potentially challenge governmental authority. Government operatives reportedly infiltrated Esalen to monitor its activities and influence. There are many more New Age programs like that, and infiltration programs and programs by the government, by the way. What I wanted to show through this, just in the New Age community, is that we are seeing a subversion. The New Age spiritual community was actually about free thought and free expansion on exploring ideas and concept beyond the boundaries of society. Today, it is very much a conformist movement. If I look, for example, at the biggest publishers and the biggest, sort of organizations in this movement, they are incredibly in sync with the where the government is going, where the UN agenda is going. They are absolutely lockstep. And this, my friends, is not by accident. Always, always, always have people who have wanted free thought or people who have had sort of rebellious ideas, always have those been infiltrated. And I want to show you something that happened, and most of you might not have heard about it. Something that happened in the Soviet Union, and it's called Operation Trust, another form of programming, and that's going to lead us to today's biggest PSYOP that is still running. Operation Trust from 1921 to 1926 was a Soviet counterintelligence operation by the OGPU, the secret police, designed to pacify and mislead potential anti-Bolshevik forces by creating a fake organization, the Monarchist Union of Central Russia. The operation tricked monarchists, White Army supporters, and other anti-communist elements into believing a strong counter-revolutionary movement existed that would restore the monarchy, while in reality it was controlled by the Soviet government. Soviet agents infiltrated anti-communist circles by posing as monarchist leaders and members of the White Army. These agents, who seemed trustworthy and influential, reassured opposition groups that they were working from within the system, spreading messages like trust the process and the regime's fall is imminent. Now, this was at the time when the Bolsheviks had removed the czars, when they had removed monarchy, and we may think that sounds like a good thing. Well, only that they replaced it by a much greater evil. The OGPU used letters, leaflets, and other written communications to convey messages to anti-Bolshevik supporters. These materials emphasized the idea that organized resistance was underway and that timing was key, encouraging opponents to wait for a signal rather than take independent action. The operation involved secret meetings where Soviet agents disguised as opposition leaders would meet with monarchists and anti-communist sympathizers. During these meetings, they reinforced the narrative that resistance efforts were under control and that immediate action could jeopardize their success. Much of the communication relied on word-of-mouth transmission with tight-knit opposition networks. The messages spread through trusted channels in anti-Bolshevik circles as people believed they were hearing genuine insider information about secret plans for a counter-revolution. So basically, so many people were disillusioned with the Bolsheviks that didn't want communism, that didn't want this humongous change in society. They were about to overthrow the government. And then the government started Operation Trust, which was basically, listen, we have them. There's going to be mass arrests. Trust this process. We are everywhere. We have allies everywhere. And they made people believe that it was a real thing. The OGPU periodically disseminated false reports of anti-Bolshevik victories or successful infiltration of Soviet institutions. These reports boosted the morale of anti-communist forces and reinforced the idea that they should remain patient because the fall of the Bolshevik regime was imminent. Let me give you some of the phrases that they were using. Trust the process. The regime will fall soon. Be patient. The time is not right yet. Supporters are everywhere. We're organized. Everything is under control. Okay. Well, let me show you this then. The QH programming. Trust the plan. Patriots are in control. Nothing can stop what is coming. Hold on. Wait. This is Operation Trust programming by the Soviet Bolsheviks. Trust the process. The regime will fall soon. Be patient. The time is not right yet. Supporters are everywhere. We are organized. Let's look at Q age programming. I call it the Q age, the new age and the Q age. Trust the plan. Patriots are in control. Nothing can stop what's coming. Enjoy the show. We have everything. Where we go one, we go all. You're watching a movie. Do you know that ultimately the same forces that created Operation Trust in the 1920s in the Soviet Union created the Q age programming, the new Operation Trust in the United States and beyond? Q has a much farther reach than the United States. This movement is worldwide, and it was created in the 2010s in the United States of America by the same forces that created Operation Trust. Because on the highest level, my friends, there is no rivalry between nations. That is for the peasants. That is for the theater. In the highest echelons of power, nations do not even exist. It's playing balls. It's a chessboard, and you move the pieces as you need them. The Patriots are in full control. White hats are winning. It's all part of the plan. Moves and counter moves. The plan is unfolding as it should. What is this Q thing? For those who maybe you've never looked into it, maybe you've never done it. I have, oops, there. Sorry, pushed the wrong button here. I've probably read most of the drops. I have spent a lot of time in the various communities of very intelligent and good-hearted people, strong people, smart people. So that's the whole goal. The whole goal is you had long before Q came along, you had a very, very potent movement that was growing of true alternative and free thinkers. And you know what they could never be? They could never be truly organized. You had the Tea Party that tried to do that. The Tea Party, which was the Republicans' sort of fringe version, conspiracy theory version, they tried to do that. They tried to pull all the people in, and it didn't work as well as they wanted to. Especially because they were highly authentic people that sort of surfed in and out of the Tea Party movement, like Ron Paul, who is a much more brilliant and independent thinker. But at any rate, so then you had the sentiment in America for a long time that the republic was lost, the constitution was lost, the way of life was lost, that the governments had long been infiltrated, that potentially the government itself, the structure, is a corporate structure rather than a true republic structure. People had started to figure all these things out, and they weren't going to have it any longer. And so through the early 2000s, and even back to the late 90s, and I remember it in my own experience since the year 2002, you had the Nasara Jasara thing, right? That went on for a while, still to this day. I mean, people are still on this thing, which was sort of a pacification program. Just wait, they're going to announce it soon. Next weekend, the new financial system is going online over the weekend. Just wait, next weekend. No, next weekend. It already went online. You're just not seeing it yet. You're getting all your money out. Don't worry. 20 years now, over 20 years, same bullshit. So that kept people pacified. Then you had the Tea Party thing, right? Because all the 9/11 people, they came out of the 9/11 thing, researching, studying, realizing there's this a much bigger picture here at work. And once again, the sentiment was, well, this has been infiltrated and taken over. The people need to do something. So then we move into 2010s. You had the Tea Party movement. Then you had the Occupy Wall Street movement. All of these were ways to bring people together, but never allow them to take real action. And then you had Q, which was the biggest of them all. And so just a little bit of an overview of what that is. Here we go. So the Q movement believes in a covert military intelligence operation led by white hats and President Trump, aimed at exposing and dismantling a global cabal of corrupt elites known as the deep state. Q, an anonymous figure, posts cryptic messages, or posted, depending on who you look at. Some people think the real Q, was only there for a few months. Q, an anonymous figure, posts cryptic messages or Q drops that encourage anons to do their own research and trust that a grand plan, the plan, is in motion to defeat these elites. Anons believe the truth about this cabal will be revealed, leading to mass arrests and justice. The movement's key phrases include trust a plan, patriots are in control, the storm is coming, symbolizing their faith in the eventual defeat of the deep state. So Q, it doesn't matter if you think it's a good or a bad thing, it's a PSYOP. And that is clear and has been openly said. Has this PSYOP had positive effects? Yes, absolutely. However, what happened in 2020? It was one of the biggest years in human history. It had a massive attack on the human family, and nobody to this day, 99% of the people are still following false theories as to what this really was. Then you had a election that most definitely did not reflect, or the results most definitely did not reflect what had really transpired in this country in terms of the will of the people and how they voted. Evidence on all levels shows this. Then you had the rollout of the Beetlejuice, which has caused the greatest destruction in a short period of time to the most amount of people ever. Then you had a regime that was installed, still there, that is the worst that this country has ever seen. And what are the people doing about it? You know what? They're trusting the plan. They're watching the movie. They're enjoying the show. Because patriots are in control. White hats have it all. I do not enjoy being the bearer of bad news. But if that is what you're still subscribed to, cancel your subscription. It's time. Go and click cancel. You got to cancel it here because you've been programmed. A lot of truths in there. It needs to be like that. A good PSYOP needs to work with a huge chunk of truth that can be verified. Because if you only put lies in there, people are going to see through it very, very quickly. But do you know that every military branch has multiple divisions that are only concerned with psychological warfare? Do you know that every intelligence agency has PSYOP sections and divisions? What you are never supposed to do is walk off the field. What is the field? The field is the system. It is the establishment. It is politics. It is how this world functions. And you're supposed to believe it is inherently real and never walk off the field and see what's beyond it. And that's what these operations do. Because guess what? Even though they tell you this huge story of what is going on, how bad things are, how bad the conspiracies are, who is all involved, and what's happening, how the system is broken and corrupt, and then what do they tell you to do about it? The same thing that all the others are telling you. Well, you just go vote. They're not even going as far as presenting you with at least a third party candidate. No, it's still the same two parties, which is really one party. I mean, if you're outside of the United States and your country has 12 parties, I know small countries like Slovenia, they have 1 million parties. Jesus, everybody and their mama has a party. Still controlled by the same people. And in the end, still the same people doing still the same things. Why? Because people give away their power to a spiritual guru, to a political guru, to a financial guru, to somebody else. And somebody else knows better. And that is the path that we need to walk. That's the plan that we need to trust. When in truth, the only thing you're never supposed to find out, you are infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, having this experience in this matrix here, and you are psyoped into believing that this little experience in this avatar is who you are, always have been, and that's all you'll ever be. Small, insignificant, and not powerful. So these movements are never allowed to lead you to true expansion. I have seen this in the New Age movement. Trust me, they all talk a great deal. And the more they wear their white robes and the more fucking candles they light and the more chants they sing, the greater gurus they are. Just light fucking candles all over the place and people who think you're enlightened, the more fearful they are that you might expand beyond where they are, that you might be bigger and greater and more wise. And so they're keeping you in their chants and they're keeping you in their little cycles and their little operations. 95% of which is complete bullshit. They are greatly programmed matrix little matrix software in a guru outfit. Or they are great speakers that stand out there that couldn't give two fucks about you, but they will lie to you and they will know what to say to you to reel you in, to hook you and reel you in. And what do they always want? They always want something from you. They want your devotion. They want your money. They want your votes. They want you to follow them. Somebody the other day, and when people say this, you know, they come to our channel, then they expect to be told things that they want to hear. Then I say things that they don't want to hear, and then they go unfollowed, unsubscribed. And I go, okay. It's like me calling up a restaurant and saying, "Hey, I just want to let y'all know I'm not going to eat at your restaurant tonight." What the fuck do I care? Who would do that? So you want to be lied to? Well, then go someplace else, because we're not going to do that. Because the true empowerment, you living up to your full potential, lies beyond all these bullshit systems. And you can never get hoodwinked again once you connect to that part of you that is not in the body. It doesn't reside in the body. It is out, if you will, it is out there. But you can bring it to you. You've just been disconnected from it. All of this freaking life programming, all of this societal programming, education system, medical system, booze, drugs, all of it is aimed at disconnecting you from your highest aspect, your higher consciousness. And you don't need fucking candles and a guru for that. You can light them. Sure, I love candles. Don't get me wrong. But they keep running, letting you run in circles. And this is the time where we step beyond it, and where I encourage everyone to go on your own journey. What are you so afraid of? Why do you need someone to hold your hand? Are you afraid you might discover something so great, something so big that you will not be able to handle it? But that is your true expression. That's who you really are. You don't need anyone to hold your hand. You don't need people to tell you what to do. You got it. And so please, don't believe me. Go back, rewind, take screenshots, put everything to the test. Research every single piece of information I gave you today. I can tell you this. The biggest authors and publishing houses, especially the publishing houses, those who manage the authors in a spiritual and new age community, they're all full of shit. They are full of shit, and I know this firsthand. They are afraid of truth. They don't want to participate in it, and they're kicking everybody out who dares to speak out. They don't want those authors. They are part of the same dark game as all the others. They're just flavored a little differently. All right, my friends. You can either trust a plan or you can trust in the divinity that you are. I take the latter. I'll choose it every day. Much love to you, many blessings, and we will be back with you again very, very soon. Right now, you could be only a few clicks away from experiencing something amazing, something that has changed thousands of lives all over the world. I'm talking about a high consciousness field similar to those at pilgrimage sites and sacred places. It's where people go to heal, to connect, and to become the best possible version of themselves. With FLFE, you can bring such a high consciousness field into your home right now. It's a spiritual quantum technology based on the work of Nikola Tesla. Better sleep, more energy, greater well-being, improved finances, electrosmog mitigation. These are only some of the things people on the FLFE service are experiencing. Try it now for 15 days completely free of charge, no credit card needed. Just click on a link down below to start your free, no strings attached FLFE trial right now.